Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 86. We have a special episode for you because we actually weren't planning to record today. We're going to record tomorrow, but we have a very special guest. Before we introduce him, we were talking about Patrick Dempsey and the special Tag Heuer GT3 RS that was racing in La Carrera
Panamericana. I was going to say, no, they announced it at Rennsport, and that's where we started seeing the photos. I think he left right from Rennsport down to Mexico.
So our guest, I didn't put two and two together. He had reached out and said, I'm going to swing by HQ coming back from my trip. And that was supposed to be Thursday, but I guess after you run a race, your right foot's a little bit heavier. And he got here on Tuesday. So allow me to welcome Pierre Mychaltchouk from the Rennsport region of PCA. And man, you've got an amazing story. And that's why Manny wanted to make sure we captured it today on the podcast.
Well, thank you very much.
So let's talk about
the Rennsport region is Montreal,
Ontario, right?
Quebec, Quebec, and Ottawa, Ontario.
What did I say? You're going to upset a lot of people from Quebec. Got enough international incidents going on in this world right now.
So, for those that don't know about the La Carrera Panamericana, Manny, why don't you give them a quick little history lesson?
Well, essentially, this is where Porsche got the name Carrera from. It was a race that was opening up, I believe, the new highway at the time, and the Pan American Highway. And it was a multi-stage rally that Porsche famously entered their 550 Spider, which in 53, I don't think even had the 4-cam engine in 53. That was actually a coupe, too, wasn't a Spider. The hardtop could come off, but they put the hardtop on, and they ran I believe, a 1600 pushrod engine on methanol.
Oh.
I think that's, if I remember correctly. Anyways, it's something that from there is part of Porsche DNA and motorsports. They won, and now they recreate it. And I don't think it's like a recreation where it's just for fun and people. This is pretty serious stuff from what Pierre was telling me. It sounds like it hasn't changed a whole lot as far as safety goes and the risk factor. And I think it's so cool that they still do this race.
Well, I agree with you, but I think Pierre's story is even cooler.
Yes.
Because it starts even before the race. So my man decided that he would take a car. You've owned this car for how long?
2 years.
2 years. It's what year?
78, built in October 77.
78 911. Packed up his car, hopped in it from Quebec, drove south. Crossed the border and decided to go racing, and then is driving back home.
He crossed in Texas, right?
Yes, twice.
Yeah, you don't have that many tools in the car because I looked in your car. You ran one set of tires. The tires that you raced in are the tires that are on your car when you went down and on the way back. And the motor is, I believe, bone stock, well maintained bone stock motor on CIS 78 motor. Numbers matching car. Impressive because that's what Porsche is all about.
And he did a few mods to the car. The gas tank.
Yes,
it's so cool.
Gas tank and brakes, very important.
Yes,
turbo brakes to be able to brake.
Is it 110 or 100 liter gas tank?
110.
So the RSR.
29 gallons.
29 gallons.
29 gallons.
That's just think the same as my Suburban.
I think the driver probably needs a rest stop before the car does.
However, yesterday I left Atlanta, the Porsche Center Experience, drove up to Washington, up to here, and just ran out of gas.
So you
2 miles.
You did Atlanta to DC on one tank.
But I ran out of gas.
Wow.
AAA had to save me with 1 gallon.
Wow, that is amazing. But yeah, you were talking about being the nerds that we are. When you pulled up and we walked out to your car, we're immediately looking at the details, and you pop open the back, and we're looking at bone stock CIS 78 motor. I noticed peeking through your, I think they're 16x8 Fuchs in the back, a little bit.
16 by 8 and
16, yep.
7 in the
In
front,
the front,
yes.
right? And so I noticed behind the Fuchs, you have some very special calipers in the rear that are much larger than stock.
Yeah, turbo
I
up
think
front and turbo at the back from Elephant Racing.
They
Yes.
look like they make 917 calipers look small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're huge.
But
Yeah.
as you were saying, out of everything that you did to the car, the brakes is where it was most important for you.
Yes.
And I can imagine, because you're running in these in these stages at triple digit speeds. In some places.
Okay, we had special, and between special we have transit. But heading to Mexico on the second day, I was over 135 miles per hour.
135.
125.
Oh, 125.
And on the Stella, it was written 197 kilometers per hour. So I didn't top 200. But during the special, you have to brake to maintain the momentum. So yes, it's constant braking for the special to keep the time.
Also, what I noticed about the car, again, being geeks, when you showed us the gas tank, which was amazing, we saw the, is it a halon system, the fire extinguisher system?
Yeah. No, I put the Novec, the gas, because the gas doesn't destroy electronics.
Okay.
But it's mandatory, and we realized it when we saw a fire caught in 2 cars or 3 cars with bad accident.
Yeah.
I cannot talk about that, but
Safety. Yeah.
As we say in the safety is our prime concern, but this is particularly true. This is racing, and this is where we realize it. And
I didn't notice, does your car have a full cage?
Yeah.
inside?
Yes.
Yep.
Full cage.
Yeah, full
That's
cage.
part of it as well?
That's mandatory. Even on the roof, I had to add a part on the roof, and then we understand it. And even the suit, double or triple layer, we understand why it's like that. Yes.
The one thing I noticed that was very cool for me was a very special color green in between some of the panels of your car. It's a very unique green, and to see that the car is white, I'm like, that car originally was a very special color.
It was, but I bought it as well like this. It was a 275, which is a lime green metallic,
Yes.
original color, but it was converted to the color sample to color, the pearl from OD. So
Yeah.
I left it.
Yeah. So you bought it that way.
I bought it this way.
But it started its birth life
Exactly.
as lime green metallic.
Yes.
Very cool.
But I said to my son, he said, "Dad, you're destroying the car." I said, "Okay," because I changed the bumpers, the RS bumpers, and the hood in fiberglass. I said, "Okay, all the parts are in your garage. You can change it anytime if you would like after."
All right. So you've got a number of other Porsches. You do driver's ed. I believe you're an instructor as well.
Nope.
Oh, you're not an instructor?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
But you have a lot of track time.
Yeah,
You
but
haven't gotten through the instructor course yet.
I started in 2010, but since then,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
didn't happen.
they'll twist your arm now that you've got all this experience. But let's just back up. At what point did you say, I want to do this race?
It's an interesting question. When Latin America didn't interested me. However, when I saw a video on the Carrera Panamericana about an hour in 2020, and I said, "Oh, I want to do this," and they will give me the opportunity to do the race in a safe environment and learn Spanish at the same time. That's it.
It's much easier than taking a course.
But did it start with you going to their website and filling out a registration form, or?
I wanted to do that last year, which was the 35th anniversary. However, my co-pilot said, "Pierre, you're not ready. The car is not ready." So I skipped last year and I registered in December. And that gave me the time to work on the car for 1.5 years with the help of a mechanic.
So once you've decided you want to do it, the car, did the car place you in a certain class, or did you want to be in a certain class so you got this car?
I was in a B, historic B, which we competed against Datsun, other 911, but long hood, so a certain time period, and power as well, so according to the rules. So
Okay.
up to 3 liter, no problem. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in B plus, but much powerful cars.
Cars, yeah.
So 996 modified. So with wide body, we had a Martini. With carburetor. So we were not in the same class. So I was heading for the B plus, and when they put me in a B, I was very happy because we're
Yeah.
not competing in the same level.
So you figure out you're going to be in the B class. Do they send you the rules for
No.
B, or how does that work?
No, the rule book is 98 pages, and then it's repetition of every year, so I already know
okay.
exactly what to do, what not to do.
Okay.
So that's really, and I called the chief scrutineer back. WhatsApp. We had a conversation for the fuel tank. I said, "Do I have to buy the FAA approved?" I said, "No, unless you do racing with FAA rules."
Okay.
That's there is no homologation. That's the only difference.
And you said it took about a year for you to prep this car?
1 year and a half.
Wow.
I started in February 1st. We dismantled the engine, the gearbox, worked on every part that it was, and that's the reason why it's so reliable now.
And what did you do to kind of shake down the car before you headed south? Or did you put it all back together and just on a hope and a prayer?
No prayer. Basically, we worked very focused, very seriously. The car was not ready, but ready to drive last summer.
Okay.
In 2022. And then continued preparation with the cage, all the modification and the fuel extinguisher system, etc. We've completed. Actually, mechanics did the tune-up on Friday before leaving on Monday, October 2nd.
Wow.
So not much, but
Yeah.
we had about, I would say, 1,000 kilometers last year of trying.
Okay. And so you headed south and you were solo for most of it till you got to what? Texas?
Laredo at the border.
And
Yes.
you met your co-pilot there?
I met the co-pilot. I picked him up at San Antonio.
Okay, so did you go to copilots.com to find a co-pilot?
No. That's
Who was your co-pilot?
no. We were doing D for at least 15 years, 2005.
Huh?
So, but co-pilot, it's a specific role to know timekeeping, the books, etc. And that's very hard. He didn't know, and it's learning curve was very hard for both of us.
I have much admiration for co-pilots. And Manny's laughing.
He could not be your co-pilot.
Because I am such a delicate flower, let alone all the skills that you need to go through a rally. I literally just can't really sit in the passenger seat while someone is driving aggressively because
Without getting car sick.
Without getting car sick. So I very much am envious of co-pilot.
But I have to say, the objective was to start in one piece and finish in one piece. So being aggressive, we were on the same page. No way we would drive over, I'd say 70%. Sometimes in the special, I was only at 50% because he said, I'm lost.
Yeah.
So then go with the flow.
Yeah. So you picked up your co-pilot in Laredo, and I'm assuming that's where you crossed into Mexico.
Exactly.
Now, you're still just the two of you crossing, or did you meet up with other
No,
people?
we had a convoy. We arranged
Okay.
with a convoy, so 5 persons, so 5 cars, yes.
Yeah. So to the average person who probably hasn't crossed the border at Laredo or crossed or driven into Mexico, you watch movies, you don't know what to expect. Like, what were you greeted by the government? Did you just drive through? Like, what was the plan?
True. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing this in a safe environment. Yes, Guardia Nacional was helping us
okay.
More or less, but at the border with the convoy to get out of Nuevo Laredo, when we crossed the border, we had to go to immigration first, also to Banjillero, which is to get the temporary vehicle permit.
Right.
So
right.
administrative
Okay.
papers. So we were a bunch of them, of us. So we did that, and then we continue. So
once you crossed the border, how long did it take to get to the start of the race?
2 days. So
You still had 2 more days of
Oh
driving.
yeah, we had
Wow.
another 1,500 kilometers. So that let's say 1,000 miles because we stopped at Tampico one night and then we finished and we completed at Veracruz before to start the
So
race.
how did you handle all of your accommodations? Was that through the race? Like they know
Yes.
where people are going to
Yeah.
stay
Yes,
and
exactly.
they recommend hotels and
Yeah, it was booked in advance, so we knew exactly where we were stopping.
This sounds like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
amazing adventure.
Yeah,
Manny,
organization.
you think we
Let's
can do
do
this
it.
someday?
Let's do it.
We can find a car. Let's use your
At least we
964.
get the language covered.
Oh, yes, exactly.
But it's a great experience.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, man. I'm kind of taking over.
No, I'm
You-
listening.
This is so
This
cool.
is something I've always wondered about.
Yeah.
Is what it takes to race this race, and
Yeah.
we were just talking. It happened to be pod unpacking day today. So we were all, the whole office was in the back unpacking our Rennsport pod, and of course we were looking at Pierre's car, saying how fun looks like it would be, and Bogdan was saying about the difference between rally and road racing, and each one is has their attributes. But with rally, unlike a road race where you're repeating lap after lap. Now, as I explained to him, I said every lap changes because the car changes, the track changes, tires change. But here, not knowing what's coming around the corner, or at least having a lot of trust in your navigator telling you what's coming around the corner,
Now-
that's got to be kind of hairy.
Now, is Panamericana the same tightness and aggressiveness of, say, like WRC?
In a different level.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same pattern. However, they're professionals.
Yeah.
They're looking for time. They are paid. We're paying.
Yeah. Gentlemen drivers, right?
Yes.
You're not used to be called. You're not used to be called a gentleman.
No, yes, but you mentioned about something. We thought about an adventure. Let's go. We were actually what happened the first 2 days. We had a learning curve. We were penalized a lot, being late, being in advance. So most likely, I think being late. I didn't look at the results. First day was not qualification was not so bad. We qualified in 33 out of around 60, so that was the order of the race actually for the day one. Day one went pretty good, and we thought, okay, that's fine. However, day second, we were late arriving in Mexico. So we didn't take the convoy all together. So we had to manage to go through the circulation and all the traffic
By yourself.
So we find one or two cars heading together.
Yeah.
We crossed the arch. Third day, problems started. Broke my first. So we finished first gear.
Yeah.
We finished, completed, but I said, okay, we cannot continue with the first, especially with the bumps. Some are really high, I would say horrible, because you have to go. So you have to go through sideway.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes you don't see, they're not marked. Sometimes they're adding on the
Do you
race.
mind giving me a percentage of how much of it is like normal highway road? How much is it loose gravel? How much of it is dirt road?
I would say mostly road. Some are very nice.
Yeah.
But as soon as you're approaching a city or a village, you have bumps. And it can be as high as half foot, even higher.
6-inch like potholes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
wide 2 feet.
That's even more amazing that you did all this on one set of tires and wheels. And no support.
And without support, that's
Yeah,
no
without
servicio. So that's we were 2 cars without service, maybe 3.
Until you got to Baltimore or Columbia.
We'll talk about that in a
Yes.
second. Until you needed the PCA support team.
Yes.
So when you lost first gear, where were you, and then what were you thinking? I can't continue, or
no.
where do you get this fixed? You're in
Okay, so we get a huge help. People are very helpful. So we went with another car, the 270 with Alfonso and Mauricio. They helped us, gave us reference, as well as the chief scrutineer said, go to Toluca. So from Querétaro to Toluca, back almost to Mexico, to fix this gear. He's a knowledgeable person. I can confirm this kind of knowledge that is lost for older car.
That's amazing.
So we had an accident on the way to the garage. We arrived at 11, worked until 8 night. the next day, 11, it was almost completed. The engine was down. Removed the gearbox, found the problem, solved it, refilled with oil, checked, and aligned because I hit a bump, so the steering wheel was not fine. So we completely went back on our way for the next city at 3 o'clock. So we were speeding, and that's nice. We can speed.
Wow, that's amazing to find not only find someone that's willing to work on your car that, and has expertise, but then also has the parts to be able to complete the job.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
He was also prepared to work on the F4 engine, 1.4 turbo, and got 206 horsepower flat for 4,000 to 500, 900.
So he definitely knows what he was doing. Wow. Okay. So, and how many days was the race total?
The race started on 13, qualifications of 12, and then we completed at Monterrey on the 19th, so 7 days.
Started in Veracruz.
Yes.
Okay.
And they ended in Monterrey, Mexico, not
Yes,
Monterrey, California.
Monterrey. So 2,000 miles.
So every stage, you have 7 stages, I guess, 7 days. When you arrive in that town, is it a celebration? Is it just no one realizes you're coming in?
You can describe as much as you can, but the crowd, the autograph, we never had as many selfies or photographs.
Wow, that's great.
It's amazing. People are
So you're a rock
smiling
star. You're a rock star when you arrive.
without knowing it.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, that's
great. So they
amazing.
embrace this race.
Yes, Mexican people and youth present. So yes, we signed a lot of autographs.
I guess they're asking questions about the car and
answering that, yes.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen footage and a lot of historic footage of this race, and you think about how fairly unregulated things are as far as spectators are next to the road, you're driving by buildings within mere inches. Is it still that way today, or has there been more regulations put for safety?
For safety, yes, there is. On the crowd on the road, they're on the sides, and so you just cheer them because and they respond to that. So that's very nice.
Yeah.
Entering the city, crossing the arch, it's like the Tour de France cycling. It's very close.
Very.
And my
yeah,
co-pilot said it's too crowded for me.
Yeah.
So, but it very sympathetic people. Yes, the crowd is great.
And even today, you're still seeing like Mercury's,
Yeah.
Studebakers,
Studebaker,
yeah, running. It's not all like Porsche, Ferrari type race cars.
No.
It was run what you had essentially, and there was a lot of big American cars that still run.
Yeah.
So did you find yourself running with a pack of cars, or were you gaining on people? Were people passing you? Like, how did they stage you? Were you by yourself most of the time, or?
I tried to be with some car in transit because it's not safer, but you know where you're going because we didn't have that much instrument.
Okay,
So as soon as we have, same level, for example, the car number 270, Alfonso and Mauricio, with a Renault 12,
Yeah.
where we're running at the same pace.
Okay.
So let's follow him. He knows the road better
Yeah,
than
yeah,
us,
yeah.
so let's
Sure.
do it.
Sure, especially for doing it the first time, you get someone experienced leading the way for you.
Yes, especially for the bumps. When you see brakes, so and at the entrance and at the exit of any town, village, and sometime on the road, you have a lot of bumps, a lot.
So everything that you packed when you were in Quebec and getting ready for the race, did you have to keep all that stuff in your car, or did you leave?
Yep.
So everything you packed
Yes.
was with you the whole time.
No service. The whole way. The whole way.
Wow. And how about, speaking of service, how about like phone service? Like, it was normal? Like you had phone service everywhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, except some parts in the mountain sometimes,
But for the most part, you
for
had
the
service.
most part, yes.
That's a nice safety net to have.
However, for the co-pilot, that was very difficult because I didn't have a SIM card from the Telcel or Mexican telephone, and that was the difficult part because to find our way, even the book for the stages we were not lost, but to find it and to follow the pace. Special was okay because the road is blocked, but for the rest, transit, finding your way, that was hard. So we were helped with the SIM card, but only on the third day.
So when you say transit, that means you finish the stage, and now you got to get from one stage to another, or
no? Okay. What is timed is the specials, so it's in red. But the time between specials, you have to get there. So you have the crowd, etc. But it's on your own.
Oh, okay. So it's not
that
that
counts.
Part's not
It's
time.
the special. That's cumulative time. The rest, you have that much time to complete that. Okay, so for example, 2 hours, 15 minutes, okay, etc. But you're on your own. So that's where we were trying to find.
So during a transit stage, do you have time to stop and refuel and get something to eat? Or
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Just make sure you're to the next
Exactly.
stage.
Not in advance, not because you're penalized. If you're in advance, you double. Penalty is double.
Okay,
But if it's, for example, you have 5 minutes late, so you see a lot of cars parking, so waiting for the time to get for the next. So it was a learning curve.
Wow.
So we go to Alabama for the parade. We're going to have to tell the wives, this is the special stage, no bathroom stops. And then we explained that the transit is where
My
you
family yells at me all the time for that. I'm like, we're going to stop here because we're going to get gas. I need you all to unload, go to the restrooms until the next.
So what time did your day start during the race?
I would say normally 6:30, 7, 7:30. One day was 8, that I think day 6, but the last stage, day 7, started at 6 or 6:30 because it was a long way. It was over 750 kilometers. So
and what time did you get into, like on the last day, what time did you get into Monterey?
We were late. We arrived at finishing the special and coming back. And actually, the pilot, 270, waited for us because I asked for him. I said, okay, that's going to be better. And we were speeding all together. So we arrived at, I would say, I think 8. So the show was almost over.
Wow.
But the crowd was still there.
Yeah.
But we finished. I can share a picture of that because it's that's where you finish. And I never thought I will go at the door, on the step door of the car, and then the cheer.
Yeah.
You complete this.
That's awesome.
Checked.
So one of the things that, I don't know if it's true or if it's just through Hollywood or movies I've seen, like when you finish your day, like day 2, 3, 4, if your car was, you didn't have to worry about your car, is it a party or do people so tired they go to bed?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, people with service, chauffeur are taking the car and they eventually repair. They have the truck, etc.
Oh, they can party because someone's taking care of it.
A party, more or less. But the crowd is there, so you're there. You can explain. So the first day we didn't know, so we stayed 2 hours or 2 hours and a half at the expense of going to the dinner, to sleep, etc., etc. So you can head up and you're in bed at 11. Then the next day starts.
Oh,
So
you got to
it's
pace
a learning
yourself.
term.
You got to pace yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So 2 days were actually I can decompose the race in 3 parts. First 2 days for competing, learning curve. 3 days we lost 3 days of repair, so we catch up, and then 6 and 7 much better because we knew a little bit more.
Would you do it again?
I would do it again. The same way, I don't know. The car can. I would choose a different route. Co-pilot, for him, the level of stress was too high for him.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He said it's not for me. Yes, but this is
I'll finish
too
it,
much.
but this will be done. This is
yes,
one and
and
done.
that's a great experience.
Yeah.
We talked briefly yesterday, but it was still on the road. But yes, but do it again, I doubt it. Yeah,
So for you, people, get to the finishing line and they're celebrating. You're celebrating as well, but for you, you still got to make your way back to Quebec. So, you celebrated on the in Monterey, and then are you just making your? Well, of course you had to stop by here, but you're just heading home.
Okay, we was briefly on crossing the arch. Then we had a breakfast next morning all
Okay.
together,
Okay.
ceremony with trophy, etc. And then at noon, 1 o'clock, heading back to from Monterey to San Antonio because my co-pilot had to take the flight back from San Antonio to Montreal. And then with the other car, without service as well, a 356 from North Carolina. So Nicola and Pedro, car 408, I think. And we drove together to New Orleans. Then from New Orleans, we split a Mobile. He went to Tallahassee and I went to Atlanta. Then yesterday from Atlanta to Washington. And hopefully tonight I will be in Montreal.
Wow. So you are right now, I think you're right around the 7,500 mile mark that you've since the beginning of your journey, right? About 7,500 miles?
100, I was at 178 100,000 miles, kilometers. Now 190 and something kilometers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And you did this again with very little tools, one set of tires. You drove down, went through the border, 7 stages.
Yes.
Coming back up, and you roll up to PCA headquarters, and I'm the one that noticed your rear tire was low on air.
Thank you. Yes.
I saw it was low, and I thought maybe he keeps it low for traction or something in the dirt.
Yeah, and then I looked on the passenger side rear, and I'm like, yeah, there's definitely a difference.
2 holes.
So
yes.
thankfully, I mean, you were kind of like, oh darn, but I'm like, that is like perfect. That is perfect that you landed here. And we brought the car around back, and not only did we find 1 nail, but we found 2 nails. And although we didn't do the approved, patch from the inside, but I think just plugging it and getting you home is important right now. So we did a little bit of roadside service for Pierre.
Actually, I was thinking about taking a spare wheel, a 7-inch spare wheel, but it didn't fit.
Because of the gas tank. Now you got this big gas tank, right?
But it's a little bit bigger, and I didn't want to take a steel because it's very heavy. Aluminum one, the hooks are very light, so I wanted to put, but with the hood, cannot match, and especially up in the front. So.
And you didn't want to run like a roof rack or anything like that, or can you? Do they allow it?
I could. Actually,
okay.
the 56 had a spare wheel they didn't use, but center of gravity is going up.
Yeah.
So I took a chance.
You did, and you're
I
doing okay. You're doing okay.
And I had a chance. Yes. Thanks.
All right.
Are you using regular, was it Yokohama tires?
Yeah. Special 200 treadwear Yokos, like
I think
008s?
so.
Yeah.
That's 08R.
Ours, yeah.
So I have a second set at home, but and they don't do that anymore. They have the 09 now.
Yeah, that's right, because they're
Not the same.
no longer in production. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing the story. It was such a pleasure to have you here today, and we wish you safe travels back to Montreal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity as well.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yep.
Whoa. So how cool was that?
I so want to do that now.
I know. We need to make up a game plan.
I don't know about driving from Montreal all the way, but the actual race, that sounds like a blast.
Man, that is definitely a bucket list item. I volunteer your 964. I think your car is comfortable enough, but it's super reliable, and that would be awesome. But the problem is, though, you'd have to ride shotgun the whole time because I can't ride passenger unless we're going straight. And I don't think rallies just go straight.
You'll have to just put a bunch of those little dots.
Those dots, yeah. Man, can you imagine? That would be so much fun. I would almost be happy just to go to the race and see it and kind of live vicariously through them and party and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that's got to be fun.
I like the party part of it, although it sounded like you're so exhausted that.
But if you go as a spectator, you can party.
So Bob, I think it was Bob Miller and Gary did the Targa Newfoundland, and I remember hearing from them something similar, where every town they went into, people were waiting for them, and they had a big party, and there they would park their cars like in gymnasiums, and the town would come out, and they would have dinner. I mean, it was like a party every
Yeah.
night, welcoming these rally participants. But it was dangerous too. I mean, there was cars that flipped.
Oh,
A lot of them didn't make it. It was a big learning experience for them. But
Yeah, we were looking at the standings after we stopped recording, and there was a lot of DNFs. And unfortunately, there was one car or driver or passenger. They made it to the last stage, and then had like a throttle cable or something broke.
something. I mean,
Yeah.
there was fire. There was.
Could you imagine doing that and getting to the last stage and not making it across the finish line?
Yeah, like we were talking once we stopped recording. It's. I told him, I said, I race in Rennsport too. I don't remember what place I finished. I just remembered that I raced there and what it was
sure,
like.
absolutely.
On the banking of Daytona of all the fans. So I think it's the same similar thing. I don't know if you're going out there to win, but really to enjoy the experience.
Very cool. So thank you, Pierre, for stopping by and sharing the experience with us. Definitely has motivated Manny and I to maybe do something kind of, maybe not to that extreme, but certainly something like that's going to be on our bucket list. Let's do a little bit administrative, so to speak, is just remind you to go to pca.org and check out our newsletters if you don't already subscribe to eBrake News, Mart Fresh News, Performance News, and such. And of course, we have crossed over the 80,000 mark on YouTube, so we certainly appreciate it when you subscribe. We also love the comments. We got a lot of comments in the most recent episodes, so thank you for that. And of course, always hit that like button. So my weekend, I'll just kind of kick it off, was kind of a hodgepodge of different things, but had a fantastic weekend. Kicked it off with Mikey and Mel's. They had a Halloween themed event and a full array of cars and costumes. And man, people got really creative and brought out a lot of hardware. And I got to see the black and orange GT3 RS that someone brought out that is super clean. And I think this is the time of year where that car really shines with that color combo.
Wouldn't you need like the Trans-Siberian Rally version of this?
Of course,
that,
to go as
orange with black.
Yeah, to go as a matching pair, for sure. And then Saturday night was probably the highlight of my weekend. It's not car related at all, but I have to say I was lucky enough, and my wife thought early enough to get us tickets to go to the Capital One Arena to see Lauryn Hill and the Fugees. Oh, they were so good. 25-year reunion. I felt like I was back in college, and I think the crowd thought they were back in college because they acted and sounded like a young group, but I looked around and they were all our age.
It was like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. But everyone had an amazing time. And I think we were super lucky because when she came on, I noticed her voice was a little raspy and she apologized. And she said, I still wanted to come. I didn't want to cancel. And she knocked it out of the park. And of course, with the Fugees as well. And I saw a note yesterday that she actually had to cancel her Philly.
Yeah, I think so. Wow.
She canceled her Philly one, which is the next stop. And so we were fortunate to have experienced the whole thing. I mean, she went 2 hours. First, it was an hour of just Lauryn Hill, and then an hour with the Fugees. And in between, they brought in the Howard University marching band. That was electric as well. Can you imagine the whole marching band was on stage and just, whew, it was crazy. So recovering from that on Sunday, it is turning to be a beautiful environment here in Maryland with all the leaves, the fall foliage, and just went out to Buddy's house, and I think there are a couple of pictures. Hopefully, Robert has them. A friend has a minimalist house. That's not the house. That's the shed that he built for his cars, and it's just beautiful out. The cool weather. So your engine is happy.
That's not his 996 Turbo.
No, that's Mr. Bill's Speedster.
I know that, but,
and that's Gary's 997
okay,
Turbo.
right.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
his cars was tucked in that little barn. He has I think it's, what's the color green? A Venturine green 993, and he has a red 996 parked next to that old school Airstream. So, yeah, pretty fun weekend. You got to meet, and I've met this gentleman before too. Probably the most distinctive voice, and of any car enthusiast, if you heard this gentleman's voice, you know it. It's familiar because he's the OG of social media, cars, and people tuned in every weekend to listen to him and his crew speak on all sorts of cars.
Yeah, John Davis of MotorWeek.
John Davis of MotorWeek.
At least those of us who, even with Dan McNally, who's a young guy in our region, he said, I wanted to tell him that I was younger. I used to have a spreadsheet with all the 0 to 60, all their stats.
Oh,
the cars
really?
they reviewed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you should have. He probably would have loved to hear that. He said he used to never miss a show and write down all the specifics of the cars they reviewed before the internet was around to make it easier for us. But yeah, he was the guest speaker. They had to reschedule this event because of a possible hurricane that was going to hit. So the rescheduled date kind of conflicted with John's schedule, but he was able to come out for at least the concours and have lunch with us, and he did a little presentation for us. But yeah, it was very cool. The region asked me to kind of like be his guide while he was at the concours, so we got a long time to chat.
Yeah.
And he started MotorWeek himself. It was an idea he had. He brought it to Maryland Public Television, and they liked it. And at the time, a car magazine show was something brand new. And I think he said they sat on it like for 3 years, not deciding whether or not they really wanted to try this or not. And when they finally did, it became a hit. And he's been doing it for over 40 years, I think he said. And it's...
So I hope you'll take this as a compliment, because when we started doing videos, I kind of likened your style to him, because you're very calm and you're very technical, and you don't have like a gimmick, so to speak, when you talk about cars.
You're like this.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, like you're
I wasn't smart enough to think of that.
Yeah, exactly. No, but he was like kind of like a no nonsense guy, and he's just an enthusiast, and put it into terms for the layman's person to understand. And I was especially proud because not everything, but a lot of the things that he did was in Maryland.
Yeah, it was right in Knowings Mills, and that's from those that aren't around here. That's probably about maybe 45 minutes from our offices, and he is. He's known around the world probably because that's a syndicated show.
Before him, what show would you think?
So he
of?
told a story about how they lost This Old House was supposed to be one of the things that MPT came out with, Maryland Public Television.
Oh, the home improvement?
They like gave it to Boston instead, and then Boston hired Bob Vila.
Bob Vila,
and became the rest is history.
Oh, wow.
So then his new boss said, "Well, I'm not going to have that happen again." Mm-hmm. So when John came with this idea, John was doing Wall Street Week at the time.
Oh,
and when he came up with this idea of this car magazine show, his boss didn't want to hand it over. But he wanted to sit on it. So, like I said, they sat on it for 3 years. And then they gave it the okay, and they went forward with it, did the pilot. And
what year did it start, roughly?
I guess you got to do the math. I think he said 40-some years.
40-some years, okay.
Yeah, but he's been the host the whole time. He is still very much involved with the show. He said he could see himself in a couple of years stepping back and just doing the intro for the show. In fact, he showed us a little clip that's going to be coming up in MotorWeek about Porsche's 75th anniversary, and somebody yelled out, "You got to do the intro before you show us." And he said, "No problem." And he got a deep voice, and he said, "This is MotorWeek with John. I'm John Davis."
Awesome.
And yeah, he was a very down to earth guy, very approachable. We talked about how much the world has changed with the internet and YouTube, and I asked him about AI. And he paused and said that basically he does not allow his writers to use AI. He's paying them to write, and he wants original writing. And
sure.
And the sound, I think I told you, was surprising. He said their number one complaint when they get complaints is sound, never video. It's always sound.
It's not me always writing in, but sound is definitely important to me. You know who I miss, though? And who I really, I love John Davis as well, but Pat Goss.
I think everyone did. Everyone asked him about that.
Cool dude.
He was a good friend of just John. Basically, pulled people he knew or was friends with, and Pat was one of them when he did the first show.
Oh,
and so Pat ended up being a fixture on the show. But yeah, it's he showed up in a press Ruby Star Carrera T.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
And he liked it very much, and he picked his favorite car, which turned out to be Bob Miller's 964 '92 Carrera RS.
No, that's not a
European version. He loved that car.
Yeah.
And maritime blue.
Not hard to understand.
Yeah, it's but yeah, he had a good time. He was there about 3 hours. The event went very well. They Chesapeake Challenges, a concours, rally, tech quiz, dinner, all wrapped up in one day.
Isn't it one of the longest running events?
Longest running a multi event. Supposed to be weekend, but although now it's just one day. That they started, I think, in '61 or something like that.
Wow.
They've had to miss it out 2 or 3 times because of either the current president at the time or COVID. I think they had to obviously miss it. Yeah, so I'm happy we were able to attend that. The next day, we went to a new sponsor of the region, which completed the circle of all 4 dealers being involved with the PCA, and that was Porsche and Mills, who hadn't been a sponsor in a long time. And they held a kind of like a meet and greet, I guess, event at their service department. And from there, I got an invite to a Porsche driving experience up at New Jersey Motorsports Park, which I'll report on the next podcast. I'm looking forward to that. Going to drive the Macan T, Taycan GTS, the 911 Carrera S, and the 911 Carrera 4S.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And will it be on-track experience, or will it be street driven?
They said the Taycan will be an autocross, and the other ones will be on-track.
Oh, you better represent.
So, I don't think they're going to be doing
timed runs.
hot lap time run. I will bring my own helmet, though.
They're gonna be intimidated by your.
Right, I'm sure my white open face helmet looks identical to the ones they use.
You don't use your flashy all colored. What you had multiple colored helmet.
I got the new one because that aged out, or whatever the requirement, the Snell requirements now, it aged out. So plus with the open when I'm autocrossing and instructing, it's easier to give instructions when your face is open, not closed with the closed face.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty busy weekend, and the weather held out.
It's interesting. Well, I'm glad you got invited and you're going to be able to represent PCA. But if I'm not mistaken, most of those events are what Porsche coins as Conquest events, meaning, it's not that they don't love their existing customers or, say, PCA members, but the objective of those events is really to invite people that don't have a Porsche and get them into the seat.
Which explains why we got to invite the last minute, because I'm sure they wanted to fill it.
Yeah.
And couldn't find people.
I don't blame them. I can't blame them. I mean, that's the formula to sell cars, is getting new customers.
But like we talked, it's also good, and I've been to these before. You see the enthusiasm on these people's faces who are not Porsche people or really performance driving, but they're having a blast. And I love to tell them, hey, if you buy a Porsche, you can continue doing all this stuff with your car. With PCA, you can do driver's ed, you can do autocross, a whole bunch of your whole world expands with just the purchase of this car, because now you've entered a I'm not going to say a cult, but a club where every weekend there's something to do, even if it's just a car show or cars and coffee. It's something that you can go and hang out with like-minded people. Yeah,
sure. And if Porsche's listening, of course we are ambassadors of the brand. Lexus doesn't have this. Lexus, if they didn't arrive and drive, you'd like their car, you buy their car, and it's you and your Lexus. But you buy a Porsche, you have the ticket, so to speak, to enter this whole lifestyle community of.
We talked about it at Rennsport, how many manufacturers would kill to have that kind of enthusiasm for their brand, that they would come from all over the world for 4 days just for one brand. I think Harley Davidson's the only thing that could compare.
Back up to Mr. Davis, did you ask him, over the 40 years, when he started, again, I can't think of a show that was a competitor to what he does or similar show, but nowadays you have people pumping out shows online, you have shows on like Discovery Channel. How has his recipe changed?
No, I think they've stayed true to their formula, and it isn't there's a lot of car shows online, but they all have the same recipe where a car comes in, they don't have enough time to work on the car. There's sometimes internal conflict with some of the employees. They get the car ready, they show it to the people hug and kiss, they're happy, rinse and repeat. That's what every show is essentially like. And it's hard to tell from one show to another really what's different, because they're all using the same formula. And to MotorWeek's credit, they're pretty. If you want to learn about a car, and you're not interested in personalities who are behind the camera or in front of the camera, that's the place to get it, because they're going to give you a review, like you said, a no nonsense review, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah, I can envision it now. So many times on a Saturday, I think they were Saturdays, but I remember seeing the they do the 0 to 60, and then they do the braking, and then they do the slalom, and I think it was at like a drag strip nearby or something like that. But it was always the same place.
Yes, up in Frederick, Maryland, 7580.
Which is closed now.
Which is closed, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's iconic to see, like, I remember the cars from the 80s and 90s all doing the same thing. And then once in a while you would see them, driving, I guess, the back roads of Owings Mills and stuff. And it was so cool.
Yep, they have the faces of the people in front of the camera change. John stays the same, but they have different people who...
I remember the young lady that did the news, like Singlaw or Sing. Anyways, I remember her voice is also very distinctive, and I can remember her talking about like the industry news and stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it hadn't changed. That I guess it's comfort food. It stays the same, and that's what's. I mean, could you imagine turning to MotorWeek and seeing conflict between John Davis and one of the? It just what seems like something's wrong.
Unfortunately, I think in today's world, they probably want that sort of reality.
Well, I guess that's the benefit of public television. That it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Boring, some people may say, but I like it. It's whenever it's on, I always try to watch it.
Now, this past Monday, you got to do something very special with Damon. And again, thank you to Bob Miller and At Speed Motors. There is a pair of, let's just say, not very special 996s that you got to record.
So we're going to come out a video. It's basically the 2004 911 GT3 RS, which was never imported to the U.S.
Euro only.
Yeah, and that he has a 2003 GT3 Cup Car. That obviously they were never street legal. Bob does the drive for both of them on the street
with his dealer tags.
I had left because Damon had to go back home and get a battery, so that was going to be like a hour round trip, I think. So I said, you know what, I'll go back to the office. I got work to do. So he was there pretty late filming.
Yeah.
So I would imagine everything went well.
Ooh, I'm excited to see that footage.
So I haven't seen the video, but Bob said he'd be willing to take the Cup Car out and do a little drive in it.
I can imagine driving a Cup Car on the street is probably terrible.
It's miserable.
I gotta say it's terrible.
From my race car, which wasn't a factory race car, but was built up. Your tire. He's got slicks on that.
Oh
and
gosh.
The turning radius is better on the dump truck because it's just not made for like street turning.
Right.
It's great on the racetrack, but you're not going full opposite lock.
Full lock, yeah.
You got bigger problems than your lap time.
That's funny.
And but the GT3 RS. He took out too. What we really showed was how much they were similar, but how much they were different too. Mm-hmm. And this is the point in time where, when they come with the 997 Cup Car, they really, really separate a lot. It really had little to do with the street car. But the 996 was still very much, they used a lot of parts of that street car. The engine was identical.
How come that car never came to the United States?
The RS?
Yeah.
I would imagine, the things that it had on it that you had to change, it had a lot of plastic windows, rear window, the rear quarter side windows were plastic.
So it's probably like a NHTSA thing, like it went past.
I'm sure it had to be something with, could have been emissions too, but that was, I think, the last RS that we didn't get, and after that we started getting all the RSs. So that was kind of a unicorn to see. I remember when the Ingram collection got theirs, and it was all made in white. There was no other color.
Right.
You had either the choice of blue or red trim.
And which one did this have?
This one had red.
Red wheels, red script.
Red script, exactly. So it's a unique car we take for granted now that RSs are something that we see regularly. But there was a time when the RSs were just Europe only. Speaking
of values for a 996 Cup Car nowadays, depending on hours on motor and condition, you could probably find one $75K or so up to maybe $150.
They're tremendous value.
Yeah.
And they really shined in club racing because people that were, what we talk about in the video is that you could not take a GT3 and build a Cup car.
Yeah.
I mean, not reasonably price wise. You're not saving
Right.
any money. You're killing a GT3, and you're not getting a real factory race car.
Right.
And there's so much they changed to make it a factory race car that it just makes sense to buy just a used Cup car, and it's a specific tool for a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, it is a car that anyone who's driven a factory race car would tell you there's nothing like a factory prepped car. So it's but for fun, we decided to compare to see how much is the RS similar to a Cup car. In many ways, more so than a lot of other cars who marketing people claim that it's really just a race car, but it has little to do with the one that's on the track. This actually shared a lot of what was on the track.
And in stark contrast from 75 to maybe 150K, depending on prep and time and use for a Cup car, a GT3 RS 996 is roughly how much these days? Is that $1 million car?
No. Shoot, you're putting me in a spot. 400,000 maybe?
400?
I think.
Oh.
That's it's
I thought they would be closer to $1 million because of how rare they are.
No, I don't think so. It's I'm saying that, and I'm
While he's looking that up, a video just dropped yesterday. Well, actually, you're listening to this, so it's probably almost a week. But Damon and Manny dropped a video from their walk around at Rennsport Reunion. They went into the Tag Heuer Heritage Experience, and you dropped some major knowledge. So, anyways, did you find the price before you go to that?
So one sold. When did it sell? This year for 210,000.
Really, man, I was way off.
Let's go out and buy one.
Wow, that seems like a steal.
No, I don't. Because they started making more and more of these as it became more popular. So it wasn't as rare as you may think it is. More of them than the GT3, but
That's pretty cool.
they're rare because we don't see them here because they were never imported here.
Yeah,
So you have to get them converted still to bring them in.
man, if you had 200 grand burning in your pocket to buy, something new, or you buy something like that.
I always thought the first gen GT3, the 99, the real taco tail that came on the GT3,
You mean
not the Aero.
the car that my car's trying to pretend to be?
Yeah. That's the one that I would like to have just to be able to see you had it because you rarely ever see the first ever GT3s.
Yeah. So back to you seeing some things that you rarely see. Your walk around of the Tag Heuer Heritage Experience at Rennsport. You dropped some major knowledge, and I know it was
that
tough.
was like almost under duress because I had to literally run over from our tent to the Heritage tent. Damon was waiting for me. Do the video and then run back because then we had to interview. I think it was Norbert Singer and Jochen Maas.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a mad dash. Get suited up and do obviously our one take production. I had already picked out some cars that I wanted to feature. So unfortunately, we couldn't do all of them, but it was so loud. So
I could tell. That's why you were like screaming.
Yeah, I
at
had to
someone.
excuse my screaming because Damon couldn't hear how the audio was because it was so loud.
Mm-hmm.
So he was hoping that it was going to come out okay.
Oh, my God.
And I would look at him. I go, "How was that?" He goes, "I don't know." He goes, "I can't hear anything."
He just stopped
So
filming
he
when your
was
mouth
stop
stopped.
filming when I would stop talking.
Yeah. What's interesting is you went through that at least a couple of times, visiting that area. In the video, you see the car that I asked you about, and you don't even remember seeing that car, and that was the Tag Heuer Carrera
the
Panamericana
one that
GT.
Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, it was right behind you. You didn't see it.
I probably looked at it and then walked away because I thought that's not really that rare. I'm looking for like
for
the
sure. And that's crazy.
the
to
super
think,
rare stuff.
Yeah. Oh, the 935s. Oh, so many cool.
Oh,
cars.
we could have spent every car in this this tent would have been a video by itself, if a very detailed video of what made this car so special.
Very good. And then Damon also dropped a video on his 1 mile review of a 2023 718 Boxster S. So I think that's is that Python green?
Yes, it looks like it.
It looks. Oh, what do you see it as? Do you
It's
see
green. I
It's
see
green.
green,
You
yeah.
see green. Okay.
Beige.
Yeah. So have you ever? And I think his question was, is the 718 platform more fun as a convertible as opposed to, say, a Cayman? Which he is more of a Cayman person because he's more track oriented in sport driving. But for me, I think I would take the Boxster because I think I've said it before. The experience of driving with the top down, it's a lot of fun to be had, and you can do it at whatever speed. And probably the nicest things that you can do is taking a top down drive on a twisty road when it's like just before dusk, and it's just, and you can hear, what I love is there's no filter between your head and the exhaust, and you can just hear everything. You can smell everything. It's almost like riding a motorcycle
Yep.
where you can drop into areas and you can tell that the temperature changes or the smells. It's just so much more engaging. And I know people will say, it's not exactly for the track, or you might lose some structural rigidity, but I think these newer cars, they take all of that into account. Is it as structurally rigid as
you
a
don't
coupe?
have cow shake on.
Yeah,
at least I've never felt it on my Boxster.
Yeah, maybe there is if you measure it, but as far as driving it on a normal basis, these cars are solid. In fact, if you jack one up, they still pick up both wheels with using just one jack point. So these newer cars.
If I had to have a second car, it would be a convertible. If it was my daily in Maryland, I would go with the Cayman.
Yeah.
Simply because I would plan to keep the car for a long time, and that top is just going to deteriorate driving it every day. Especially in Maryland, and if you have to drive it in the snow and salt,
and then you're worrying about the drains, you're worrying about the mechanics of the top.
It's just, but for a second car, I mean, our Boxster is an 05. It has the original top that looks great.
Yeah,
and obviously it's garage. We don't drive it in the winter salt. We drive it in the winter, but not when there's salt on the road. So it's there's no reason why that top can't last another 10 years.
So there's something in that 718 video. I don't want to say it's an Easter egg, but there's something that's out of place in that video. Have a watch and comment below the video if you notice what it is. And I don't think Manny picked it up either. So anyways, watch
With
that
the car or with Damon?
With the car. I mean, you can say stuff about Damon too. No, I'm kidding. But there's something very peculiar about that car, and you'll notice it if you watch carefully.
I was very worried today that I was going to show up with one eyebrow.
One eyebrow?
Because I
did
a major faux pas with the grill.
No.
Last week we were cooking on the grill and we ran out of propane.
Uh-huh.
And it was the last bottle. And so I took what we were cooking inside and we finished it in the oven, and I disconnected the tank, but I didn't put everything back to close.
You didn't? Yeah, I left it open.
And of course, my wife's making barbecue chicken last night, and I'm like, "Are you planning to put that on the grill?" And she's like, "Oh, I forgot we don't have propane." I'm like, "I'll run out and get some." So I went out and got some. Plug in the tank when I come back, and I totally forgot that I left everything open.
Oh no!
So
did you smell it?
Well, I go inside to ask my wife, "Do you want me to start warming up the grill? Are you ready for the chicken soon?" She says yes. So I come back out. And I could smell some propane, and I thought, boy, that's strange. I guess when I plugged it in, and I thought, but you know what? I'm going to leave them all off.
Oh, no. Please don't say
I'm going to light it so I can
God.
burn off anything that's in the line before I light it.
Oh, no.
And as soon as I hit that ignition, it was like a wall of flame.
You are so lucky you didn't cause a major fire.
And what, it immediately, it was a flash. It went boom, and then it disappeared. And I was like, what the heck just happened? And because I had done this before with a charcoal grill.
Oh, jeez.
With that one, I completely did a hair removal on my arm.
On your arm. Oh, my God.
I saw these things coming down. And I'm like, what are these like little spider things
Hair
coming down?
Tender.
It turned out to be my hair.
Oh, jeez.
So this time, I'm like feeling my face to see if I have any hair left. And I asked my wife. She said, yeah, it's still there.
Oh,
like,
my
thank God.
I'm glad it wasn't.
But anyways, I was like, if we're doing the podcast and I don't have eyebrows.
All right, so let's get into the news. We've got a little time, but something that we knew was coming, and maybe it's now official of when it will be launched.
Well, at least we know it's coming 2025. We're all waiting for, obviously, the GT2 RS. And, of course, the hybrid 911. And it looks like it's going to come out in the GT2 RS being a hybrid. Big question is the weight. This is an Autocar article who has the spy shots of what they think is a GT2 RS with the hybrid on it. And they think it's only going to add about, it's not going to exceed 220 pounds, it says, having the hybrid unit on there. And it's going to use technology from the 963 It's hybrid. So it's, I don't know how much it's going to be as far as like a Prius saving you, or plug-in hybrid where it saves you gas and lets you go electric power versus giving you more power and a boost.
So that black car that you were showing on YouTube, that's definitely not the GT2 RS. That
would probably be the hybrid.
Yeah, because the GT2 RS is going to be much more wild than that.
I think if you what Robert was showing before was the one with the hood scoops.
Yeah, it's got to have a lot more
vents.
vents.
The big wing in the back. Yeah,
that's the one.
There you
go.
Yeah,
yep.
That would be the GT2 RS. So I keep on telling people I think you're going to be blown away by the hybrid if Porsche does this right. Porsche's not going to let the 911 be slow.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to make it very, very high performance oriented.
But I think they're also going to keep the 911, internal, with an inclusion of an internal combustion engine for probably as long as they can.
Sure, they've already said that.
That's their. It's their signature, right?
Well, even with the Cayman and Boxster, the fact that they're going to extend the gas version and the manual, I think. Looks like Porsche is listening to their customers.
Yeah.
And
so where was it that I read? Was it for the electric Cayman and Boxsters? Like they're trying to make sure that they're going to come in at a weight of under 4,000 pounds.
I think they're trying to.
I think that would be smart because
they're trying to work this solid state battery and maybe see if it can coincide with the debut of the solid state batteries.
So that'd be pretty amazing that they'll have the electric performance, but still have the nimbleness, and because like the Taycan, it's very fun to drive, but when you drive it aggressively, you can definitely feel the weight. I mean, it's a heavy vehicle, and certainly if you're doing a sports car, you want to try to eliminate that heavyweight feel. And if their goal is to come in at under 4,000 pounds, that's pretty good.
I look forward to when someday hopefully I can drive the electric Cayman or Boxster on the track for braking.
Yeah.
If the motors braking the car along with the regular traditional brakes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be incredible.
Sure.
And it's not going to fade away.
Yeah. I think the limiting factor is going to be the person behind the wheel.
Yeah.
These cars are going to be amazing. All right. Let's see. Talking about PCA events coming up. Unstock November 12th, and it's a record setter.
Yeah, I'm amazed. We were a little bit worried because we were coming out of the LA area
and going down to San Diego.
But I think the opposite happened. They have really come out. We got some very good looking cars that, and we're picking the ones that are going to come inside to be displayed inside the factory floor, which is going to make for phenomenal photographs. But yeah, there's some great looking cars out there that are modified.
So we're hoping that we're going to go over 150 modified.
Right now,
Porsches?
we're almost at 160.
Sweet.
So you'll have plenty to look at, plenty to see all day. It's going to be a very fun event.
Yeah. So if you miss registration and you can't be in the show, so to speak, with your car, there's corral parking and plenty of street parking. Still come out, even if you have to come out in your daily driver. Come out and hang out with us. And
no charge to spectate.
No charge.
You don't need to register to spectate.
Nope.
You don't need to register for the corral parking. It's all first come, first serve. No charge. Just come out and hang out. Obviously, if you want to eat, you got to pay your own way for the food trucks, but it'll be some good food trucks. I think it's going to be a great time.
Definitely. Also, a good time is scheduled for November 18th and 19th. We will be in Eastvale, California at the Porsche facility with Tech Tactics West.
Yep. Right now we have a PCA rep coming to talk about bodywork on Porsches, and you are going to be blown away like I was. he did a presentation at Parade that wasn't very well attended because it was coinciding with another main presentation. But what I learned is I'd never want a new car to be in an accident. It's amazing how many different materials they use now on new Porsches and how critical it is to have people knowing how to fix these things the correct way, and not just some shop that says, yeah, we can fix it. You definitely want to. Makes me almost worried about when these cars are 20 years old and people are restoring them, you know, what it's going to be like, because you really have to be trained to be able to fix something that has 3 different types of metal and one fender.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you're still putting together the complete agenda, and we will certainly get it out to all of our members. And if you're not a member, you can check out our website. So with that, this side of the podcast was a little bit short because we had a great time with Pierre. So we're going to wrap it up unless you have anything else, Manny.
No, so if you're listening to this, Tech Tactics Live already happened. If you didn't watch it live, check it out on YouTube. We have Mike Maurer back again, who did Confessions of a Car Salesman. He's back again to talk about more in depth about Porsche pricing and how the dealers price things and what you can negotiate, what you can ask for, additional dealer markups, how that works. A lot of behind the scenes stuff that only someone who's retired and no longer planning to go back to work in the industry will tell you.
Absolutely. Unfiltered. Thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN and head over to PCA.org and we'll set you up. And if you're looking for your first Porsche, we have a program called Test Drive, and we'll give you access to a lot of resources and we'll help you find that special vehicle to put on your driveway. Remember to follow us on the podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. And of course, you can always email us at podcast@pca.org. And again, thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe, comment, and hit that like button. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.